Welcome back to the Day Ghost.
Hey everyone, we're here doing a Zoom call. I
Under
can
quarantine.
to do a weekly Zoom call show since we're not really doing anything in quarantine. I hope everybody's safe.
Yeah,
Brandon, it's good to see you.
good to see you too. We decided that we were gonna do, as you said, a weekly call where we discuss a few.
Whatever, really, yeah.
One of the ones that we first came up with was Austin started watching Community. I had seen it for like a while back, but I started rewatching it. It's on Netflix, and so we decided we were going to discuss season 1 and pick our 3 favorite episodes each.
Yeah, and then next episode we'll do. Do you have the weirdest sneeze?
That was intentional.
I know you added the sound intentionally, but you still have weird sneezes. Because most of the time you do like the.
And I do it like 7 times. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so that's our first topic today. We thought we'd talk about is just our favorite, our top 3 episodes from season 1, and then next week we'll do season 2, and then the week after
3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have other topics to discuss.
Yeah, we're not. This isn't just a community show, but that's just the first thing Brandon said we should talk about since we both been watching it.
Yeah. So I guess I'll get the ball rolling since I think the first episode that I chose was pretty much the first episode of the first season. It's the second episode, Spanish 101.
Yeah, because I'll just say, Brandon and I also checked with each other for what our episodes would be to make sure we weren't picking the same episodes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm just pulling up my list.
101. That's the one where they start the Spanish class, and it introduces the character of Senor Chang. I forget for a second, what exactly goes on in that episode specifically.
In that episode, you don't. You picked that episode. You don't remember.
Yeah, they're asked to do.
They have to do a presentation.
A presentation on a short conversation in Spanish.
I think Britta matches with Abed. So
and Jeff gets switched, so he ends up matching up with Pierce.
Well, he switches with Abed, but Britta also switches.
Yeah.
So then, it puts Pierce in.
So he gets matched up with Pierce. The reason that I chose this episode is I wanted to, with my first pick, explore where the characters who start the study group together become a little bit closer together. And what stuck with me on this one was Pierce is always, throughout the show, just sort of treated as the idiot or the outsider of the group, the one that nobody really likes, but they just sort of deal with. And occasionally he has some wise things to say and some helpful bits of wisdom, but people usually just don't respect him. And in this one, the leader of the group, Jeff, gets closer to Pierce and learns more about him and starts to respect him, at least for the duration of the episode.
Yeah,
that
is part of why Chevy Chase didn't like his role on Community, from what I understand, is that he starts off he progressively gets more racist and sexist and whatever. While in season 1 he also has that element of kind of being like a father figure to Jeff, and then after season 1 they kind of just drop that.
After season 1 he just becomes the annoying racist dude in the group who's just sort of put up with.
But he's also Chevy Chase, so he's also hilarious.
Yeah, and the joke of this episode is that they're supposed to just have simple conversations, and everyone else in the group just sort of like comes up with it in 5 minutes and just goes off and does whatever. But like they're stuck in the study room together, like poring over notes, and Chevy Chase is like coming up with ridiculous, ridiculous like elongated presentations that are oddly critical of Israel.
That's my favorite line in the episode.
Yeah.
They put on like a full play.
You put on a full play.
Different characters, and they got like the silly string. They're shooting at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're waving the Israeli and the Palestinian flags. They abduct Annie's desk and they tie her up and like they float down
and she's like a native.
Yeah, and she's a native, and they float down a fake ravine for a second, and then they're playing with sparklers at the end, and then and then they both get an F and an F. Did you say S? Was Pierce's line at the end there? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that of course is where the like famous Troy and Abed like Spanish rap comes from. That's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll jump into my first episode. So I think with mine you can tell who my favorite character on the show is, because I think all three of my episodes like have her as major character. So my first episode is the debate episode where Jeff and Annie like have to work together to beat City College in a debate. And Jeff, obviously, because he's a lawyer, thinks that he can like easily lawyer his way out of it, and then it doesn't work, and then they have to get into like a proper debate.
Yeah.
But Brandon, I don't have one, so you don't look as cool. If we both had one, it would look better.
I'm far more prepared. I'm leagues ahead.
I just woke up, so I literally rolled out of bed, and now I'm here. I'm streets behind.
Streets ahead. That's also the one where the group discovers that Abed has a internet show that he posts weekly.
Where he's psychic.
That happened to his study group, and he's casted different people to play them and everything. But like a week usually like a week after he posts it, like that event starts taking place in real time in the study group's lives. So he's seen as sort of like a soothsayer. He can predict the future. Every ridiculous thing that he thinks is going to happen just comes true.
And he has Jeff and Annie kiss, and Shirley's like, "Oh, like you're an idiot."
That'll never happen. And then of course they kiss on stage.
The debate.
Yeah, in the debate. And then one thing that he predicted that would happen, the most ridiculous one, is that Shirley would be attacked by a werewolf. And of course, it's just like after the debate, they find out that it's a full moon that night. He's just how the episode ends. Don't worry, we'll find out next week that Pierce is an actual genius. And walks out of the room. Pierce, you cured your psychology cured my trauma. I cured
it's about smoking, yeah.
Yeah, help me quit smoking. You're a genius. Do it, and then he's just, oh my God, Shirley.
Exactly. Now, of course, like the first time you kind of get the setup for the rest of the show, where like Jeff and Annie kind of become a thing.
Yeah, that's sort of a thing that goes on and off between it. Like it's a will they, won't they sort of.
Which is funny because the show starts off with a will they, won't they relationship between Jeff and Britta and Annie and Troy, and then they like quickly drop that, and it becomes Jeff and Annie.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because I think they have like a bit more chemistry.
Yeah. I think you should go first because just a little thing. I did switch my third episode pick.
I actually did, like, just now
And
while
it's
looking at
not,
my list.
I don't think it's the one that you picked. I don't think so. So you go ahead with your second pick.
You
So
want
we
me to? Okay.
go in order.
So my second one is the STD Party.
The STD fair.
Yeah, the STD fair. I wrote party. I didn't write actual episode titles. I just wrote like the debate episode, STD Party episode, and yeah, the STD episode's just one of the funniest, where they set up Annie and the dean set up this STD fair, and
to raise awareness about
to
sexually
raise,
transmitted disease.
but they're also serving alcohol, so
so everybody's getting drunk and having intercourse. And
they
to how to demonstrate how to put a condom on to a diorama penis.
Yeah, and she doesn't know what one.
She doesn't know what a penis looks like.
Yeah, so they have to like break into the dean's office to find it.
Yeah. One of the classic jokes is both Britta and Shirley both look through it, and Britta's white, Shirley's black, so they both look through it. And Annie looks through it, and she's like, "Oh my God, is that considered large?" Britta says yes, and Shirley says, "Oh no,
that's nice." Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, and they print like Greendale on all of the condoms, but just printing something on them like pokes holes in them. A bunch of drunk guys like start filling them with beer,
them up like water balloons.
Yeah, exactly. But they also leak, and so he gets Abed to like run to his office to put on the announcements to not use the condoms. And he gets on and he just goes like, "Everybody, the condoms are defective. Don't use the condoms. I repeat.
If you're going to have sex tonight, don't use condoms." Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's classic.
It is a classic episode. I guess I'll go on to mine now. I mean,
okay.
My choice, my second choice is the paintball episode.
Yeah, which I thought about putting on, but then was like, I feel like it's too obvious, and then I ended up picking the three I did.
Right,
which led to Brandon.
Very obvious boy.
Well, I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you are a basic bitch.
I am a basic bitch. The paintball episode is sort of like, for any fan of Community, it's probably like the most classic spoof episode.
And I think technically it is probably the best episode of season 1.
Yeah, it's just out of all of the things that they spoof, it probably is the most memorable and classic and of the reoccurring ones.
Yeah, and and I think unlike the second paintball, it kind of like throws in a bunch of stuff. Like it starts out with zombies, and by the end it's kind of Rambo, and I think there's like John Woo like mixed in the middle with Chang.
Where Chang comes in dressed in like a suit and like a salmon colored shirt and everything, and he's like chewing a toothpick. And he has like this giant gun, and Chinese, like mystical Chinese music is playing. So the entire study room after.
And then with him, it also kind of turns into Predator, where once he loses, he like pulls out the paint bomb.
Like the bomb, the paint bomb.
Like slowly counts down.
Blows up the entire study room as Jeff dives out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, because in the second season they do the 2-parter, but it's just kind of like part 1 is Western, part 2
is Western, one is Star Wars.
But the first paintball in season 1 is kind of like a mix of a bunch of stuff, and of course the one in season 6 is just kind of spy stuff. Yeah,
they don't do it for a while after that, and then in season 6 they finally do the third one, and it's
they kind of do it in season 4, but like not really.
Yeah, it's like a spy movie, which I guess is like a really cool way of doing it, rather than having like a third competition outright. Just like a competition is started by a
I think that's why they don't do it past season 2, is they were probably worried about like continuing.
Yeah, continuously. Like, why are
Yeah.
we going to just continuously have more competitions if it always just goes
Just
around?
do the same story. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But they found a good way to do it, I think,
great.
in season 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually, it's debatable of like if it's my second favorite or my third favorite. I don't know. I don't think it's my favorite one. But
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
We should probably talk about the first one.
Yeah.
You're just going off about the one in season 6.
Well, it shows just how classic that is, though. It's when you think of Community, I guess if you're a fan, you think of like the paintball episodes.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Just well known. Yeah.
And yeah, you get some great stuff like when they're being attacked by the Glee Club. And,
the Glee Club hides in trees and uses cheery renditions of songs to lure people in like sirens.
And it's like they start singing and Annie's just like, oh, come on, this is hacky. And she stands up and gets shot
in the boob. Yeah.
And then Jeff is like, okay, we need a distraction to see like where they're coming from. Hey,
Pierce, don't come over here. Screw you.
Come over there.
He gets shot a bunch of times. Medic. Yeah. Yeah. And then of course they're hiding in the trees, so they all like shoot up and they shoot the tree. All of them.
And they all fall out of the tree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
disco post-ironic Disco Stew creates a disco troupe, and they all like rollerblade in with like big poofy wigs and everything. And they're
yeah, and Shirley gets like shot from behind, and they do like the big dramatic moment where she's on the floor and she's like, "I'm going home, Britta."
You know, Shirley.
I know, Shirley. No, seriously.
No, seriously, I'm going home. Could you pick me up? Yeah. What else? Yeah, and I guess the prize they're competing for is priority registration. The winner gets to pick all their classes first, ahead of everybody next semester, and so everybody just starts like going at each other real serious for it, but then like the dean finds out later it's a violation of student rights, so he can't, so he just gives like a fake Blu-ray like knockoff. Jeff finds out about that, and
well, that's where you get the Rambo scene where he like walks in and shoots up the desk.
Yeah.
He's got like the Die Hard look too, like where like the dirty tank top.
Yeah, it's just a mix of a bunch of like classic.
But like the scene pretty much plays out exactly like the one in Rambo First Blood Part 2. Where, like, he gets back and shoots up like the general's desk or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Should I go on to my third one?
Yeah.
So I actually had a different episode, but I changed it like just when I started looking at my list. My new one is the April Fool's episode where Britta like tries to do the prank and like drops the body out of like the window, and meanwhile Annie and Shirley are like security guards, which I think is the best part of that episode. Like you get the scene where Annie's chasing Jeff and she's got the mace and she's running forward.
She's got to turn the other way and she's spraying herself in the eye.
No, she's spraying it forward, but she's also running forward, so she's running.
Oh, right. So she like goes in the cloud of mace. Yeah. Yeah.
And then she just starts screaming. It just cuts to her, and she's like just mascara running down her face. Yeah. And you got Abed where he's like just kind of hanging out with them because his TV broke. So he's just looking at them like they're like a cop show. And he's like telling the dean what to say. And then like he has like his freak out where he turns into like the police captain, and he's like, I need you to guys to hand me your guns and your badges, and I want you out of my sight. And they're like, screw that. We're going to take him down on our own. Which also is one of my favorite jokes in that season where they're interrogating Jeff. And I think Shirley says something to him, and then Annie grabs him by the head and slams his head off the desk to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Britta admits that it was her that did the prank because like Britta frames Jeff into making Annie and Shirley go after him, so she finally like admits that she was the one who did it. And like they all three girls start crying, and Annie's just like, oh, I only smashed his head off the table because I wanted people to think of me as an adult. Oh man, it's so great. Do you want to go on to your third episode then, your last one?
Yeah, my third episode is the final episode of the season, the transfer dance.
Oh, all 5 dances.
All 5 dances, yeah. And Britta gets nominated for Transfer Queen, but they change it to not be a confusing name. They change it to Tranny Queen, so she's nominated for Queen of the Trannies.
Yeah, and you got
Professor Slater, who was a teacher who broke up with Jeff earlier in the season, decides she wants him back and is trying to get him back, but Britta decides that she wants Jeff finally, and Britta eventually at the tranny dance professes her love in front of the entire school to Jeff, and Slater does as well, and he just walks out. He walks out eventually and ends up kissing Annie, and Annie as she comes back. She didn't see any of it. She was out. But she came back, and he told her about it, and then he kisses her. My favorite part about it, and the one that made me choose it, I watched it last night. Like I got up and I watched, because I thought I had picked everything, but I hadn't seen the final episode. And then again, and then I watched it. I'm like, oh, I've got to pick this. And then my favorite one is where it's like progressively Professor Ian Duncan, played by John Oliver, gets drunker and drunker, and then eventually he gets up on stage.
I'm gonna rap.
He's like, I'm gonna rap now. Drop a beat. My name is I'm Professor Ian Duncan, and I'm here to say I'm going to rap to the beat in a rapping way. I got a real big penis, and I drink lots of booze.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And then he gets suspended for that, and Chang, who's wanted to punch him, well, he can't because he's a student now.
Does he jump on his back?
He's not a professor. He's just like, what? He's like, oh, so you're not a professor anymore. What's this? He's like, oh, it's a roll of quarters. Why? Like, punches him across the face. It's great.
Yeah.
One of the best endings.
I love the scene in that episode where Britta and Slater are fighting, and like the dean in the background is just like, Britta Perry, and he's like, and Britta just goes, you see that, like Miss Slater? I just won a contest for being hot.
And then she goes up on stage, gives her acceptance speech. I'm just naming the contestants. I won't
Oh yeah, that's so great.
Yeah.
I remember when I first watched that, because like obviously I didn't know where the show was going, so when Annie and Jeff kissed, I was like, wait, what? This is where we're going?
Yeah. Well, that leads like directly into like the conflict of the first episode next season.
Of season 2, yeah.
Season 2, yeah. Which is a great episode. Season
it's a very great episode.
Season 2, episode 1 is great anthropology.
Yeah.
101.
But and it was funny for me going back and rewatching it, because they kind of hinted the Jeff and Annie thing throughout the season, and I just didn't really realize, like, pick up on it because I had only just watched it, which is, I gotta say, one of the best things about the show is you just pick up on more. There's so many like just details in the background. Like in season 2, in the it's not the last episode, but it's maybe the third last episode, where Shirley's pregnant and Abed has to deliver a baby. Earlier on in the season, there's like a whole subplot that takes place entirely in the background of Abed delivering a baby. So in that Shirley episode, Abed's like, "Don't worry, I can deliver this baby," and somebody just goes like, "How?" And he's like, "Oh, I delivered a baby once." And I think Troy is just like, "When?" And he's like, "Oh, it was in the background." Yeah, and it's like in the background you see Abed and he's like talking to some girl that's pregnant, and then like in a later scene he's with her again and her boyfriend starts beating Abed up, and then like towards the end of the episode, they're like in the back of like a minivan and he's delivering a baby. It's like entirely in the background.
Wait, this is in like season 1?
This is in season 2. It's the episode where Britta and Annie are competing with each other to raise money for like the oil spill.
Oh yeah, and that's like happening entirely in the background.
Yeah, the scene where they start like oil wrestling, I think it's that scene. That's the one where if you look in the background, you can see Abed delivering the baby. Because then,
and it's not even addressed in like dialogue throughout the episode. You just notice it like later on, like he's delivered a baby.
Yeah, at the end of the
and they're like, "Oh, I've done this."
Abed walks over and Shirley's like, "Oh, Abed, I haven't seen you at all like this week." And Abed just goes, "Yeah, like, I've just been kind of
usually off having other adventures or something."
Well, I think Shirley's like, "Did you do anything special?" He's like, "No, not really." He just walks away.
Delivered a baby.
And apparently I heard the whole story, like if you listen to the commentary on that episode, is that like she's not sure if it's Abed's baby or like her boyfriend's baby. That's like the plot. That's why the boyfriend beats him up.
Yeah.
And it's like when he delivers it, he's disappointed because it's not his. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I never even noticed that.
Yeah, I'll send you a video. There's like videos that highlight all of his parts.
It's great.
Yeah, it's just like so many.
Cool.
There's also
writing like that. Like that's awesome.
Through like the first 3 seasons, like somebody says Beetlejuice. Like I think in each season, maybe not in season 1, maybe there's 2 in season 2. I can't exactly remember, but they're all in separate episodes, like separate seasons. And in season 3, Britta says Beetlejuice, and it's the 3rd time it's been said on the show. And when she says it, Beetlejuice walks by in the background. Yeah, like the show just has like an insane attention to detail, which is weird because from what I understand, they did like each episode individually. They didn't really plan anything.
They just wrote them like one after
one after the other.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Especially like the Shirley thing, because it's like, okay, if you knew she was going to have like a baby later in the season and Abed was going to deliver it, like you would maybe have that attention to detail. But like then if that's not happening, why is he delivering a baby in the middle of like in the background of an episode? Like why is that just your idea?
It's like a solid joke idea.
A solid joke idea that they had no idea. They have to be time travelers to be able to write like that.
Yeah, exactly. Should we move on to our second topic for tonight?
Sure. What was it? What was the second?
So originally, Brandon pitched this idea where we talked about the Oscar winners for Best Picture over the last 20 years.
We realized we haven't seen most of them.
Yeah, we looked at the list. Brandon's seen at least half, maybe like a bit over half. I've only seen 5. So I was like, yeah, no, we can't do this.
You can't do that, yeah.
At least like let's plan this for another show. We'll like go through them. Actually watch them. So I said just before we started the show that we should instead replace that with like just talking about like something we've watched recently, or just like different things we've seen recently. Like I know you've seen is it Extraction not that long ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Extraction, that's the Russo brothers produced movie with Chris Hemsworth. It's another one. It's like John Wick in the sense that it was directed by a stuntman. So you can expect that the
Which seems to be pretty common now. Like that's like Deadpool as well.
Deadpool was David
Tim
Leitch.
Miller.
Yeah,
No, the second one is the first
second
one.
one is David Leitch.
Tim Miller, I think his name
Tim
is,
Miller?
but he was also a stuntman.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay, well, yeah, but you expect that it's a certain level of quality in terms of the stunts, and it for the most part is. But it's just the characters are so bland, and there is no world building in it that it's just hard to get invested. You look at something like John Wick, and my mom actually was watching it with us. She brought that up, like, oh, how can you watch something like this and hate it, but like watch John? You guys will like love the John Wick franchise. And it's like, yeah, but John Wick has like a whole world behind it, a whole lore behind it, and it sets him up as like this cool character with like a history and a past. So like we know something about him, and there's this like seedy underworld. So there's some intrigue in it that we can get behind, other than just him being really good at the action scenes.
Yeah.
He admittedly is. And the action scenes in this are fine. It's just that it's just so unengaging in every single way and cliche in every single way possible that it's just you end up rolling your eyes at it most of the time. And I swear to God, like there was one elongated action scene that I looked over several times to my brother. I'm like, is this like a video game cutscene? It looks like a video game.
Oh no, does it have like the overuse of CGI issue?
I don't know if they CGI particularly. I was focusing more on the fact that it was like a constant like one shot, and it was done
Oh, okay.
like a POV type thing, and like the back of the car and everything, and the cameras moving around. So it looked like it was like the intro to like a Far Cry game.
Oh no.
So it's just like, whoa, this looks like a video game, which would be fine if I cared about the characters a little bit, but I don't.
Yeah. I don't know. Chris Hemsworth is like a real issue with picking projects.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like just like looking at the things he's done outside of Thor, and even then, like Thor is easily the weakest of like the three. I was gonna say the three, but I guess it's more than three now. Like Marvel
Yeah,
solo
Thor 4,
franchises.
Thor is coming out.
Oh no, it's gonna be rough. But like, you know, you got like, was it Ghostbusters and like Men in Black?
That's what the movie should have been called instead of Love and Thunder. It should have been called
God, I
Thor,
hate that
Little
title.
More Thor.
That should have been Thor 4 Back for More. Like, come on, lean into the rhyme.
Yeah.
Thor 4 Back for More War.
For a little more Thor or something like that. It's like
Thor 4 the Search for More Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess
Or for the Quest for Love and Thunder.
Thor 4 and the like fantabulous emancipation of one Thor.
One Natalie Portman.
Not even the character's name.
Not even the character.
Portman.
Oh, or not even like Natalie Portman. It'll just be a Kat Dennings character.
Oh God. We all think Natalie Portman's gonna be Thor, but instead it's gonna be Kat Dennings.
Yeah.
I'm wielding Mew Mew.
Mew Mew.
Remember that running joke?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Near, so she called it Mew Mew.
I think there was like a Stan Lee quote at some point where somebody asked him how you pronounced Mjolnir, and he was basically just like, "Yeah, however you want to pronounce it, that's fine." But I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly where I heard him say that, but it sounds like something he'd say. I guess yeah, for me, it's nothing really new, I'd say. I watched Terminator last night. 'Cause,
Okay. The first one or the second
yeah,
one?
the first one.
Ooh.
Because I guess quick plug, I'm gonna be on. I'm recording a commentary on the channel Geekvolution for the first Terminator tomorrow.
Oh, okay,
So
nice.
it's been like a few years since I've watched it, so I wanted to like refresh my mind on it a bit.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found interesting rewatching it is like it is such just a B movie.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know, it's just kind of funny to me that like it turned into this huge franchise. Like it is like it's just so small and like a lot of the effects are really cool, but then like there's some stuff that just looks like pretty rough, like just hasn't aged very well. Especially there's that shot of him like with his eye out. Do you know the
Yeah.
one I'm talking about where it's clearly just like a plastic model,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, that's rough.
Hmm.
And the last shot of Sarah Connor driving away is pretty rough too, which is weird. I would have thought that would be an easy shot to do. What do we know? We don't know anything about making movies. Just watch the channel to figure that
Yeah.
out. Yeah, but I'm trying to think. I guess of new movies I've watched this year, the only stuff it's really been is we watched Invisible Man. I watched Onward, which was just kind of it exists. And
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was last year or this year. We watched Horse Girl on Netflix.
Hmm. Oh, Horse Girl. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
this.
it was this year.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was this year or last year.
Yeah.
That was
Naked Allison Brie like walks out, walks into the middle of the store.
of course. You can always expect Brandon to be the pervert on the show. But
It's the most memorable scene.
did you say? I'm sorry. Did you say it was the most rememberable scene?
No, I said it's the most memorable.
Oh, I heard rememberable.
You're regardless.
I don't know. I actually remember that movie like really well, which is funny because I think when we watched it, I think you said you liked it more than I did, but I think it's grown on me a lot more.
Yeah.
Like I remember it like quite a bit. I was actually thinking of rewatching it the other day. That
Yeah.
and watching what's that show that she's on, Glow or whatever on
Glow.
Netflix. I thought about trying that out because
Good
she's
show
probably
too.
she's my favorite on Community.
Mine is uh
Probably Abed, I'm guessing. I think most people think Abed's the best. Abed's my
Troy and
second.
Abed.
Yeah.
Troy and Abed are my favorite.
Yeah, I think my three are probably Annie, Abed,
Annie
and Pierce.
and Pierce, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah. Should we move on to like another topic then?
Sure. I believe the topic was like, what's the golden age of movies?
Yes, which I I feel like I have like no room to talk about like
Why
on
is that?
because I haven't seen most of like the like a lot of like classic old black and white films. Like I've never seen stuff like Casablanca or I don't know Gone with the Wind, um,
Hmm.
Kill a Mockingbird, whatever. I don't know like
Yeah.
anything really. I've seen Dracula and Frankenstein.
Right. Well, It comes down to like the 70s and the 80s, I find.
Yeah, Brandon wants us to look like real, like chump film people. The greatest year for film of all time was 1984.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess like when I think of Golden Age, I think of that stuff. Like I think of like the Wizard of Oz. Like, I think old. I don't think 80s and 70s, but I also haven't seen most of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I say the 70s, and most people say the 70s that I've heard of
No, fair enough. Yeah.
is because it's just like it was the era where it was just like directors were given a lot of freedom, and there was a lot of change in the way that filmmaking techniques were done, in the way that in the way that films were just shot in general. It was a lot more free, and after that, the studio sort of just like clamped down
Hmm.
on creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about like now.
Now, especially, yeah.
Yeah.
But and
I
even in
think.
the 80s, you could see like that movies had an element of like studio creation. It was just like it was a confection of like studio like attempts to make like the next Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like even Back to the Future, which is great, but like that is definitely like a studio making it to like it's the Hollywood blockbuster. You know, it has the template of it. If
Yeah.
it follows a template,
Well, Back to the Future is just kind of like a perfect script
it is
for
too.
like
Yeah,
just everything like just
comes
sets up
back.
something and comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, another one like that is I know you haven't. Sorry, I know you haven't seen it. It's Chinatown.
Yeah, I've never seen Chinatown. I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen a single Roman Polanski film
Oh yeah.
because I don't support people like that.
Okay.
And you're a dirty homeless person.
I think it was like 5 years before he did it. So okay.
I don't know. Well, isn't it also a gangster movie, Chinatown? Because
Not
that's.
really.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna
Not
say
really.
that's
It's
like easily my least
no.
mood genre.
Yeah. It's more like a investigation movie or like a noir. So
Oh,
it
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, because it follows like a what is it, like a private investigator, and he's caught up in a conspiracy. At first he's sued by the wife of the water commissioner who he was following,
Hmm.
and then the water commissioner winds up dead. So she ends up dropping the lawsuit, but he doesn't want to because he thinks that like it's a giant conspiracy around it. Clearly, something fishy's going on. So he wants to continue following it. And the woman is the wife, the ex-wife, the widow is. It clearly seems like she has something to hide, which sets up the trope of that she's what is it, the Black Widow, or the like she's gonna be like the villain, like she's gonna betray him at the end, like which is a stereotype for the film noir genre.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It turns out she's like the victim of like the conspiracy, and it has a very cynical ending too, where he ends up trying to help her, and because he was a cynical man before, he never really believed in helping people. He used to be a cop stationed in Chinatown, and there they would tell you that it was just like the cops would do as little as possible because apparently it was so corrupt that you can't do anything good, can't get anything good done, so you just do as little as possible. So he harbors that sort of attitude in his life. And when he finds out that she's been victimized, he tries to help her and gets her killed in the end. So, and the bad guys get away with it.
Oh, okay. So it's like
So
a
it's just he ends up being like driven to believe in like love and uh, what is it, fairness in society and everything like that, and then it's ripped away from him at the end again.
so it has nothing to do with one of my favorite movies, Big Trouble in Little China. I assumed that was just a remake of that.
Yeah.
Big Trouble in Little Chinatown.
No, no, it has nothing to do with that. What's the villain's name again?
Lopan,
Lopan? Yeah,
who is
Lopan.
like the ultimate, or not ultimate, like the perfect adaptation of the Mandarin from Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess if you're going into 70s stuff, like that is when John Carpenter started, and he's probably my second favorite director. Like,
Well, that's when like
and
people
he
like
like gets completely screwed over by the
Scorsese and
Hollywood
Francis Ford
system.
Coppola. Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas.
All those
All
like,
those guys got their start, and they got to like make their own films and everything.
yeah.
And eventually, a few of them turned into like big hits, and then that became the studio made.
Well, I don't know about Scorsese, but like
Scorsese did.
Lucas. No, what I mean is, but Lucas, Spielberg, and Coppola are all friends. I don't know about. Uh,
Scorsese was actually one of them
is
too.
he a part of that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
yeah, but a few of them got like big hit movies, and then like that became like the '80s was like the blockbuster age.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You get stuff like Jaws and Star Wars, and I think Jaws is late 70s too. Or
Late '70s, Star
yeah,
Wars. The
because
first
that's
one at least was '77.
well, that's what I mean. But like that's the stuff that basically inspired the 80s, like your big Hollywood blockbuster. Obviously, that's not to say that every single film is like a blockbuster, because obviously that even
Right.
now there's small stuff that, like, we just talked about Horse Girl like a little bit
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. There's still independent and small films that get made, but it's just like the overall majority of them in the '80s were like they tried to have like that blockbuster format and formula, and it was the age of the blockbuster.
Yeah, now it's the age of everybody has to be like Marvel.
Yeah, well, Marvel is and the superhero genre is sort of like the blockbuster of this
Yeah,
sort
well,
of. It's
it's one
sort
of
of
those
going the way
things
of the
though, I
Western
think,
in a sense.
like, as much as I like Marvel,
Oversaturation of that genre
yeah, but,
constantly.
but like as much as I like Marvel, which I do, um like they've kind of like ruined Hollywood in a way where like
Yeah,
everybody's got to be that, like, especially the jokey thing, like, and they have movies that where it's a problem too, but like
right.
that whole thing where we just can't take anything seriously anymore in like the blockbuster type films,
Yeah,
um
like where the
becomes such
jokes
like an issue.
like interject with like a serious thing, and
Yeah,
then
where you have like a serious moment and it's like you have like the joke to cut it off.
yeah, just to not have it actually be taken serious and just remind you that this is just a fun movie and not.
Yeah, yeah, and you kind of remove a lot of the dramatic weight.
Yeah, yeah, like Thor Ragnarok does that. I know you hate that movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's because it's just Spaceballs, but with Thor. It's like if Spaceballs was Return of the Jedi, I'd also probably not like it. Especially you got like that movie could have been, the Winter Soldier, like, per se, of um Thor movies, where like it's like extremely dark, like he basically loses everything in that movie. And it
Mhm.
could have been like really emotional and kind of heartbreaking, but instead you get Thor just kind of bumming around like he's an idiot. And you get stuff like, you know the Warriors 3, who I understand don't get a lot of screen time in the first two Thor movies, but like, they're still Thor's friends. He doesn't even acknowledge that they die in it.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes him seem like an a-hole.
Yeah. Don't even cry when his dad dies.
Well, like, I guess people could say, yeah, but he has that little
Hopkins gives his lamest performance too.
Oh, Hopkins totally doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Goodbye, my sons. Look over there.
Just deep
I started to
into the movie.
I'm pretty sure I started turning to Bane for a second there. But yeah, no, like I know a lot
He
of
didn't even
people
phone in. He just deep faked his way in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and have you ever seen his alternate death?
No.
Yeah, because they did that big box set of like all 23 movies, I think it is. And they put on like a bunch of deleted scenes that had never been released before onto that, and that was one of them.
Like his alternate death.
Yeah, and it's basically he's just like a crazy homeless man in New York. And then Hella shows up and he's like, "Don't worry, guys, I got this." And he just walks over and she kills him. It's like, okay.
They went with the better one.
Like it's like only a smidge better.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's a lot better than just Hella walking up and killing a retarded homeless man in New York.
Yeah, fair enough, I guess. But yeah, like I think they like walk over into an alleyway and he's just kind of like warming his hands on like one of those um dumpster fire things, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he's just like, "Oh, hello, my sons.
Yeah.
It's I, Odin." I can't remember the exact dialogue. I'm pretty sure that's not it.
It's probably.
Give me a second. My dog's whining to get out of this room.
All right.
It's raining out, so she's freaking out a little.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they released like a whole bunch of scenes through that box set. Like they had the alternate version of like Hulk's arc, I guess you could say, in Infinity War, where he does turn into the Hulk.
Yeah.
And like the effects aren't finished, so it's like, it's Mark Ruffalo like on stilts, I think, through part of it, and then there's kind of just like a Hulk model that's like not rendered well, just like T-posing.
I guess you could say that in a way. The superhero genre or the superhero movie nowadays is sort of like the Western of old, where it's just like a massive saturation of that in Hollywood.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people have made
Out
that
of it.
comparison, especially in the whole like when's it gonna end? Like when do
Well,
you
that's
get the
what I was
death
gonna
of
say
it?
is because last night I was watching on YouTube like videos on like the history of the Western genre. And I always sort of like before this, I always sort of thought like, I don't know if the superhero genre is going to die quite the way that they think just of pure oversaturation, just the way that they think it will. I never thought that, but after watching that video on it, I think even less that it's gonna
Oh,
die
really?
because the like if you look at the reason why the Western genre doesn't exist in the way that it used to anymore. It's Hollywood just can't make it profitable because the majority of where money comes from now in the market is just in China, and Chinese and Asian audiences just for some reason despise Western movies, like the Western genre. Like they hate it. They won't see it. So it just
It's kind of like them with Star
China
Wars. They
sort
also
of
don't
took
like that.
over. China sort of like took over like the market, and like sort of. So now, if you want to have a successful movie, you have to like sort of appeal in China as well.
Yeah,
And
and we see that a lot where you get movies that kind of pander
yeah,
to China.
right. And but you get the superhero genre, and boy, does it work in China. Like
But
they
the
love it.
thing you got to remember too, though, is like Transformers, like that was huge in China,
Huge in China.
and then 5 wasn't. Like there
Yeah,
is still like it could still die. I think
it
for me,
could, it could, but it just seems like their tastes seem to be heavily into like massive amounts of action. So it's just if you have like a lot of bang for your buck in terms of the action, they love it. If it's slower paced, they don't as much.
yeah. So
Um,
I think for me,
so like the superhero genre probably has a lot more legs.
yeah. But what I was gonna say is, I think for me, it depends on like, where we go from here. Like we're in such a weird place now with it. Like, um, especially like Marvel. Like we just finished their kind of big wrap up thing, and now we're gonna start to get some new stuff. And I think we're kind of in a similar place to where they were when they started. Like obviously they have, the name recognition that'll at least carry them for a while, even like if all their movies suck moving forward. But I think they
Yeah,
just have to like
which I don't think it will. I think they'll have a
I'm
lot.
not I'm not saying they will either. I'm just saying they're in a place where if there's any point where I could see them failing, it would be like right now because we're in such a like we don't really know what's going
Like they
on.
built from the beginning. It was like a build up to the Avengers Endgame storyline, and then it
When I
was
and I think
now
part of it too is
done. Now
we're moving away from the bigger characters and moving into characters that like are obscure even to comic book fans. Like
right, and they've
you
shown
got Shang-Chi, the
yeah,
Eternals, stuff like
but
that moving forward.
they've shown that they have an ability to make those types of movies profitable. Like you never thought that years ago in 2014 that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be as big as it was,
Yeah.
and it ended up being huge. It ended up being arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, to date when it came out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. But I think there's
Super
maybe a
popular
chance
then.
they could be resting on their laurels a little bit and just assume that like
True.
we can make anything work, but they actually have to do it. But like I said, I don't see that actually happening.
Right.
I think also like part of that fear comes from like I didn't like Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I didn't really like Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
Um I like Black Panther, but I think it's kind of overrated. Like
It's
and
definitely overrated, but it is good.
and Ant-Man and the Wasp isn't great. Like last few movies haven't been amazing outside of like, some of the bigger ones. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that also adds to it where it's like let's not move in that direction. Let's move in a good direction.
Yeah. Well, again, that's the thing of like, even if they do rest on their laurels and they do end up, moving towards the direction that you were just talking about, is China still just going to buy it just because they buy it? Because remember, like you said, the first 4 Transformers movies, none of them were good, but they cleaned ass in
3
China.
and 4 get a little bit better from where they were.
But they are
But they still
not
get
good.
good.
and they clean ass in China. So
But 5 didn't.
right, that's true. But like, even if
And
they
4 is one of the biggest
are the Chinese
Std
still gonna
Panther
just show
films I've
up?
ever seen.
Are the Chinese just like, is the Chinese market just gonna show up just because it's like it's Marvel and they have action, they have lots of it, and we like the action?
Yeah.
Are they just gonna show up for that?
Yeah, who
That's
knows?
the real question, because I could foresee it. I could foresee honestly a thing where it sort of does start to die based on quality going down in the West, like in the Western world, but like China just buys it, and they just
Well,
buy
I
it
think
so
if
much
quality
that
goes down, it'll
it
still be years before it hits their box
can,
office.
yeah, they can just continue to make them and like put them in like massive cineplexes all over the world, and it would still be profitable massively. So
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how well like the DC movies, for example, do in China. Like I know obviously stuff like Aquaman, it hit over $1 billion, but
yeah,
obviously like didn't help Justice League. So I
no,
don't know. Like, I don't know exactly how that would translate. Then again,
yeah,
outside of like Joker, DC can't make a good movie to save their life right now.
yeah,
And I have hopes for them in like moving forward because I actually like I'm a DC fan, but
yeah, yeah. Um, thing is though, like even Joker too is like it's good, but it is sort of like after I watched recently Taxi Driver, I'm like, this is just a bad ripoff of Taxi Driver.
well, and the big thing too is Joker didn't need China to make over $1 billion.
It's true.
Speaking of, because we're starting to get into the DC movies, I should point out our next topic is actually related to this, which is
Oh yes, that's right.
we're finally getting the Snyder Cut.
Perfect. Yeah, the
I
Snyder,
just figured that
the feed cut, everything cut
yes, if you
that ever
apparently
made a movie in the last 10 to 15 years apparently had no creative control, and they need their own cut.
yeah, that's a big thing I've started to hear recently is that like all these directors are coming out now and saying like, oh, like we can do like
That's just
my
not my
cut.
vision.
Like I've heard that, like you said, Paul Feig with Ghostbusters. There's been talk of David Ayer with Suicide Squad, which like yeah,
Just all of them, just Josh Trank clones.
but Suicide Squad also like there's obviously a lot of interference.
That thing was just a commercial. That movie was
Like
just.
I don't really need to see his cut just because I think that's one of the worst films ever made.
Oh
And
my god! My
maybe
pick
his
for the
cut is
worst.
better, but I see me personally, I see it like the ultimate cut of Batman vs Superman. Of okay, it improves on some things, but it's also a 3 hour cut of a film I don't like, and doesn't fix most of what I don't like about it.
Yeah,
Which Suicide or not Suicide Squad, Justice League obviously won't have
yeah,
to the same extent because they refilmed most of it. So it'll
right.
be interesting
Like,
to
what
see
am I thinking?
exactly what that movie even is, like how
What
close
is
it
that
even
going to
is.
be? Because like he left. Like I think it was like halfway through filming that movie because his daughter committed suicide.
Well, and that's the other thing too is I don't know how much it can even be his cut. Like I know
Yeah, how can you have his cut when he didn't finish it in the first place?
I think he initially, when they announced it, talked about wanting to get all the actors back in to refilm some stuff. But
Oh,
like I also heard that HBO, because it's going to be on HBO Max, said no to that idea. So I don't know.
what is it going to even be?
I'm just honestly, I'm amazed they're sinking another 20 to, I think I heard 20 to 30 million on the movie because it didn't do well and to begin with at the box office. But at the same time, I think they're probably doing this because they can't film anything else right now. So it's like we need to make any sort of profit we can. Here's this thing that basically kind of already exists. Dump some money into it to, finish it, and then we can get whatever profits off of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than nothing. But when it'll be, their big seller for that streaming service, I guess.
Yeah,
But they clearly needs a lot more work if it's because it's not coming out till next year.
yeah. I don't know how they're going to do it because he didn't finish it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I have no idea. It's going to be interesting to see, I think. But we also know like his version's extremely different. Like he's been posting images of stuff like Darkseid and whatnot, like from the movie. Like he just reposted one of Darkseid in that history scene where we flash back to when they first attack Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you get to see him there. But at the same time, because I've seen Batman vs Superman, like there's no way that movie isn't a complete mess, like, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a completely overstuffed mess of a film. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah. And it's not like the Snyder Cut's going to make the movie like infinitely better because, or like make it into a great movie, because like if you look at the way Marvel did it before the Avengers and the way that they did it before Justice League, you see that Marvel set up all the characters that are going to be in
Well, and I don't think you
the Avengers,
necessarily
and then
need
like
to
you
set.
just like come into Justice League and you're like seeing these characters for the first time.
Well, I don't
Some
think you necessarily need to set up every Justice League member. Like, we do stuff like this with, say, like X-Men or like Guardians. But I think one of the biggest issues with Justice League is it's so overly complicated, and not like in a good way. Like a complicated movie's fine, but it also has to be good.
yeah,
Like it's just kind of stupid, and we're also going to get stuff that didn't work to begin with, and I doubt ever will, like Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash, which
yeah.
just makes me want to rip my own throat out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the dog scratching to get back in. Hold on.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the fans I guess think is going to come out of this.
Well, and that's another thing is I feel like the Snyder Cut fans probably think there's more of them than there actually are. Like, I think it's very much a highly vocal minority.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the box office for Justice League kind of goes into that,
Right.
Even Batman vs Superman, like it obviously made money, but it wasn't this. It didn't crack $1 billion, which I think Warner Brothers at the very least, saw that as a given. It's the first film. Batman's last film before that made $1 billion. Now we're getting the Batman meets Superman movie,
Yeah.
and I think it made like 800 million, which obviously is a lot
There's
of
a lot,
money.
but still.
It's one of those things. I think a lot of studio. Well, and I think that movie has like a budget of like 250, 300 million, something like that. It's nuts.
300 million.
Yeah, like movies are insane. Like I said,
So expensive.
I was watching Terminator last night. Do you know what the budget for that movie was?
The first one? No.
Obviously this is like without inflation, but it was 6.4 million.
With inflation, it's not 300 million.
Yeah, with inflation, it's not 300.
Right.
It just like amazes me. Like I don't know. There's just a lot of these movies are so overly produced. Like even movies I like, like Spider-Man: Far From Home, for example. There's the scene in the hotel room where Nick Fury like comes in to recruit him.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson's entirely on a green screen in that scene.
Why?
And his gun is CG.
Why? Why not just have him?
Well, that's what I mean. And obviously, I have to imagine that's partly due to like some sort of filming
Constraint or something?
constraint. Like maybe they couldn't get him on the day they filmed in that hotel. But at the same time, they put a green wall behind him so they could color it
That's why
brown.
you film different scenes at different days. You don't film in like chronological order or something.
But what I'm saying is like the wall behind him is just brown, and he has a table in front of him. They literally put a green wall in front of him to recolor it brown in post. Like, I don't know, like they couldn't just find another brown wall.
Could you just build that set that was supposed to be behind him?
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like,
Wherever he was.
it's like Ian McKellen, breaking down on the set of The Hobbit.
This is not what I got into acting for.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously with The Hobbit, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. Like those movies were rushed by Warner Brothers, but so
Yeah.
it's a little different.
Mhm.
Although I guess you could say the Spider-Man movies are kind of forced or rushed by Sony because they're gonna make them every 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so different now. Like it amazes me. You get stuff like Scorsese can't get any company to fund his movies. He has to go to Netflix now. But then
Yeah.
you got stuff like that.
He's like he has the most consistent record of any like living director at this moment.
Yeah. Like obviously we still get stuff like Tarantino in the theater. But like,
Yeah.
oh, it's amazing. Amazing how much things have kind of changed.
Yeah.
Streaming much more so seems to be the way of, not this is gonna sound super elitist, but like I don't know, I guess like I was gonna say like proper filmmaking, but you know what I mean? Like more like
Well, yeah. The way that it's like
in
independent,
stuff that's not blockbusters, yeah.
creator friendly filmmaking. Yeah.
Like I think it was amazing that like Booksmart last year that got like a full like blockbuster style like theatrical release, and it like completely bombed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of those movies, if they do make it to theaters, it's not like the full, like it doesn't make it to every theater.
Yeah.
Like I know at least in my hometown, um, we got like the one theater that's like the Blockbuster theater, and we got the other one that while it does play that stuff, it also plays a lot of like the more like Oscar films.
Okay.
Like that's where we saw 1917.
Yeah.
And like because I think the other one I don't even think played that.
Right.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, it's crazy now how much things have kind of changed.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know, I like to go see a lot of that stuff, like when we saw The Lighthouse, it's like you go
Oh,
support that stuff, especially because a lot of those movies aren't exactly expensive.
no, I know. Yeah.
They're made with reasonable
Canada.
budgets.
You know, The Lighthouse was filmed in Canada.
Oh really? I didn't know that, but I guess it's
Nova
not that
Scotia.
surprising. Really, eh?
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I kind of assumed it was mostly like soundstage, honestly.
Whereas as Willem Dafoe would pronounce it, Kennedy.
And thing to bring it to DC for a second, because they're doing the Matt Reeves, the Batman movies. And I don't know if you've heard, but Robert Pattinson said that he, like, his take on Batman is inspired by Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse. And
Yeah.
God, I need to know what that even means because I just don't.
Mhm.
It sounds bizarre.
I hope it's literal.
I hope it's literal too. I hope they just get Defoe to like dub over him. It's like it's one of Arnold's first movies. It's like Hercules in New York, I think. And they dub over him in that movie, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's bizarre. Like they pick a voice that just does not fit him.
Yeah.
You're eating buttered noodles all wrong. See, this is Brandon's life. He's so picky. It's buttered noodles.
That's an Ahmed thing from
Yeah,
Unit.
I know it is, but it's
It's
also
a
funny looking
themed
at, but you
food.
are extremely picky.
It is themed food, Austin.
Sorry, my bad. Also, Randy and Amy are gonna kill me if I don't ask this. So can you pull off your hat for a second to show them your quarantine hair?
Yeah. Okay.
So
Get
we both have, obviously you can see mine, it's
let's
super
get it.
short. Our
Yeah,
hairs were getting too long in quarantine.
here we go.
There you go. And that's even like grown quite a bit
It's
since I
grown
saw you,
quite a lot. Yeah. It's
because you were
it's
completely
really
bald, no?
what?
You were completely bald, no?
No, it was like it was a buzz. There was still hair, but they were
Oh,
just
I consider this like a buzz.
okay.
You
Well,
had like, you looked like Thanos. You had like the tiniest little stubble if you kind of squint at it in the
oh
right light. It's like Hogwarts. If you look in the right spot and you believe it's there, you'll see
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't stand it anymore. I mean, I was
Well, that was me too. It was getting way too long.
it wasn't even that it was too long, it's just that it was really thick and that it was just I have like I have psoriasis too, so it's like I have dandruff in my hair constantly. Like I have scabs all over, but it's just like if you if I'm even like looking in the mirror at night and sometimes like I'll see like there's just dandruff all over through my hair. So I just got to like I'm picking it out to try to just get rid of it as much as I can, but I just can't seem to do it. So it was annoying me, irritating me. I love this now.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna keep it.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
no, it looks good.
I like going into like the shower, coming out of the shower, and not even having to like just like comb it or anything,
Yeah.
brush it,
Don't even
nothing.
have to use shampoo or conditioner anymore.
It also helps my
All
psoriasis.
body wash now, baby.
Yeah, I don't even have to. It helps with my psoriasis too because I'm not picking out my at my dandruff anymore. And when I would pick there, I would sometimes like I would pick at my scabs too, and I don't do that as much. So the scabs even my mom started to notice like the scabs just go away.
No,
So
it's good.
much clearer head.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah,
The only reason I had to ask is because I told Randy and Amy,
Randy and Amy that I had a.
and they were like, No, I can't picture that. I don't. Brandon can't be bald. I can't picture that."
Well, there it is.
So I
Yep.
was like, I know I'm gonna have to ask you about it.
Yeah, there it is.
No, it looks really good. So
Yeah, I was surprised. I got it buzzed, I think, once when I was younger, and I, for some reason, didn't like it, and my mom didn't like it, so we just agreed to not do that again. And then, yeah, and then
well,
I
I
did.
mean, I think it's a little different when you're
Oh.
a kid.
Well, I wasn't even a kid. It was like it was a few years ago. It was, I think, when we were
Oh, the way you said it made me think when you're a kid. Okay,
like
fair
it
enough.
was either my last year of high school or just after I was out of high school.
I don't remember that in high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
clearly I had my mind on different
Summer one
things.
day, but one time, but I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah.
I
This one
don't,
is
I'm
this one even has a story to it. Is like I did it all by myself. I came home and I used an improper razor to shave it off, and it was taking me forever. And hair was getting all over the place. I had to shower multiple times to get the hair off my body and off my face.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was hell getting rid of it. But in the end, it's worth
I don't.
it.
I'm trying to remember that, like, you being like that in high school, and I don't know. I think I'm going senile. I'm getting too old, Brandon. I'm going senile. So should we? I think that we went through all of our topics. Should we call it a close for episode 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks anybody who managed to listen to us rambling for an hour.
Yeah, I thought this was actually more of a structured conversation than I thought it would.
I'm just
A lot more
joking
random.
around. No, this was a lot of fun. I'm I look forward to doing this next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, bye everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe.